Hello, hello, beautiful, soulful being. Welcome to this month's edition of my newsletter. For those of you who are less familiar with me, my name is Ashtyn Monea. I am a teacher, seer, and mentor for grounded mystics. And today's topic is going to be on the location of deeper surrender. This is a highly feminine space. That doesn't mean that this location only calls to women. Any man on an evolutionary path will be called into void spaces, dark nights of the soul. There's a deepening that's happening within. But this location that I'm talking about is deeper. It's deeper than where you've been. And I am hoping that by speaking into this space and giving language for what is so untangible, it will support you in the future arrival into this space and or also through your own kind of personal deepenings. For those of you who are less familiar with my teachings and my work, when I speak, I'm also offering you energetics and encodements, initiations and activations for your evolutionary digestion. And so this is why I'm calling you to listen from a place by which you do not know, rather than a place by which you know, and then imprinting inaccurately what you know onto this location, because then you'll miss the activation. If you are not already subscribed to my YouTube, make sure to subscribe. For those of you who are subscribed to my YouTube or catching this video who are not subscribed to my monthly newsletter, I highly recommend that you find the link in the description below in order to subscribe, because not every video that I put out under my newsletter goes on to my public YouTube. So there are teachings that you will miss if you're not subscribed also to my newsletter. If you like this video, make sure to like it. Feel free to comment. I love to hear how the work is landing for you. Okay. This space that I am speaking into is infinitely deep, infinitely transformational. It is a sacred location, and it is a sacred location that is upheld by the feminine essence. When we talk about something that is external, such as expansion, which differs from internal, which is the surrender, the deepening, the void. Expansion, which is external, relates to the masculine. Internal, in the deepening, relates to the feminine. So this is why I say this is a sacred location that is occupied and upheld by the feminine essence. The ways in which we have been taught to be with the feminine and through our own programming and conditioning is highly irreverent. There is a collective conditioning that creates an extractive society, which is the umbrella by which we are coexisting among. That doesn't mean that you yourself approach extractively, but it does mean that you have imprints relative to extraction that in your healing and evolutionary process, you will have to remove, to include removing it from your body. And before you do, you're going to default to your conditioning. So when we merge that idea, that understanding with this sacred location, you can only go but so deep if you arrive into a particular location with the intention to get when it comes to the feminine. So much of society is trying to get from her all of the time. I mean, if you could see the ways that I see and the amount of extraction and womb feeding, it is predominant, prevalent. It is the dark mother that calls us into this deeper surrender. And that means that our relationship to her matters. When we look at what is sold in the spiritual marketplace, there's a lot that is occupying this quadrant of extraction to include teachings on manifestation. It's like, oh, if you just let go, if you just take the leap, then you'll get the life that you desire. Oh, if you just invest in the work and you do the healing work, then all of your highest life desires will just arrive to you. You'll become a magnet for it. How many things in the spiritual marketplace are sold with a promise to get something? The vast majority of them. So there's this space that is the empty space, the void, the nothingness. And the nothingness is connected to the everything. This is the original womb. This is the mother. This is this original feminine space and frequency. When we are called into that space, we are operating between what we have known and now we've lost it. Things have shifted to the unknown. There's an unknown space, and we are living somewhere in between that. Oftentimes, when we are called into these dark nights of soul, into these deep spaces of void and transformation, two streams of information were moving through. I have an art piece on my website. It's called The Void of Transformation, and it just connects with this transmission so much that the coding from the portal itself, because my arts actually are encoded portals, the portal started providing some information. So I just wanted to mention it because it's here. Some of that coding is flowing through the field. If you're more interested in the art piece and actually working with that in a very conscious way, then you can go to my website, trueselfembodied.com. Okay. When we are called into these spaces, like a dark night of soul, where life is just crumbling, like within and around us, there's more confusion than there is clarity. The reason why that is because clarity is relative to knowing. So that's from the known. Whereas confusion, we can experience that when we're in this transitionary space and there's all of this unknown. We don't yet know. And our mind, because we're told and taught and programmed and conditioned that the mind is the thing that leads us, it'll try to grab on, grabby. Do you see how that's also extractionary? So the mind will try to grab onto something to include a future outcome or trajectory. And what I'm saying is that if or when you do that, you're not surrendering. When you do that, you are preventing yourself from going deeper into the nothingness. And when we allow ourselves to go deeper and deeper and deeper, this is where the unknown can truly provide to us. So that's the feminine providing into life. She's birthing new life through you. And if it's something that you can imagine with your mind, that's not coming from the unknown. That's coming from your attachment to the known. So what we start getting into now is this desire for security that then has this grabby, which is extractionary, but it's also an attempt to control. That is so different than surrender. And so this is a part of feminine mastery. When we truly surrender, the attachments that we have relative to our mind, certain beliefs, conditioning, there's ancestral programming, there can be prior lifetime and karmic, like there can be so much that is here. When we're grabby, the mind will go, it'll start spinning like an engine and it'll take you out of your dissension. What you want to do is slow, drop in, create space, allow. There's no grabby. There's no, this needs to be the outcome on the other side of this deep, dark night of soul. Now, when I have been in this location, which I have been so many times, not this particular location I'm talking about today, but in general, avoid space. I mean, I'm so attuned to this process that not only do I have deep, deep teachings relative to it, which you can find in my membership group, the Integrative Evolutionary, there's an application that is needed to apply because we do have a good gatekeeping process in place. But not only do I teach on it, like there are so many times where I'm like, oh, the void is calling. I have known in moments the void is calling and I'm about to go into something and I can literally see myself tiptoeing around a dark void space like a well. And then I go, okay, it's time to die, which really means it's time to shed. It's time to unravel. It's time to let go. It's time to allow life to lead. This is also a place where you humble yourself because you know that you don't know everything. And if you can let go fully and surrender in, you're giving it all over to the mother. Because the mother is this empty space. She is the nothingness, and she's the place by which life is birthed. So you're like, hey, I throw it all on the table. Transform me, do what you will. I'm just gonna move with you like the current. Just let the current take me. I trust the intelligence of the mother more than my mind or my human because she knows more than I do and ever will. So again, humbling yourself, right? So essentially what I'm saying is that I'm so attuned to this space that not only can I walk you through the steps and stages of it as a process and the places that we kind of get blocked up, and I can also tell where a client is in said stage or process. But I can also sometimes feel it coming before it arrives. And then I have consciously gone, okay, let's do it. This is a very different energy from what most of humanity is doing because most of humanity is resisting its initiations. Most of humanity is more attached to its persona, the beliefs that are false beliefs about itself, life itself, et cetera, et cetera. It will resist the initiation and then the initiation will come. And sometimes her gravitational pull is so strong, there's nothing you can do about it. But there's other times where you resist so much that she's like, that's your free will. That's your choice. You resist so much, you will not see what is on the other side of this shedding. You will not become. I cannot connect with you in a deeper way because you will not allow the connection between us. So there is a mastery and there's layers and levels of mastery inside of surrender. Okay, there are a few things that I wrote. I'm going to read them and then we're going to drop deeper. What if you choose to exist just to exist, not for life, what life will give you? Most spiritual conscious community teachings suggest that all will arrive to you if you just insert here. Follow your heart's calling, take the leap, do the internal work, etc. People love hearing this, that they will be rewarded. But what if your heaven on earth doesn't arrive? Alchemy isn't about getting something. It's about doing what is true regardless of outcome. Can you do the work just because? Let's just sit with that for a moment. Because as I said, how much of the spiritual marketplace utilizes the collective attachment to extraction, to get something, to sell you something? You can tell that my teachings and my work is pure because I'm being like, hey, what if there's nothing on the other side? Now, this isn't to say that your own becoming won't happen. This isn't to say that your wisdom won't deepen. This isn't to say that you won't see more and know more, that you won't evolve, that if you're a sacred code holder, that doing this process won't actually become the anchor that you need in order to anchor the codes of your own soul, your blueprint, etc. at ground. But that's not the why. And if you're leading with that as your why, you cannot go to the location of deeper surrender, which is what this newsletter is about today. It's not possible. When I have been in these deeper initiations, something that has held me inside of them is this understanding of the cycle of life, and that on the other side of death is rebirth. And so the other side of darkness is light. And that has gotten me through so many deep, transformational, wild, high alchemy life processes. However, the location of deeper surrender does not operate in that way. Instead of knowing there's rebirth, instead of being like there's light on the other side, there's literally nothing. You're not attached to that there will be a sunnier day, that there will be an outcome, that there will be a transformation, a rebirth, that you will be rewarded in some way. Literally, what you feel, and like I'm prophetic, and many of you here have incredible intuitive capabilities, and you're able to sense to include future timelines and trajectories. I've been able to do that for a very long time. And there have been future timelines and trajectories that I could sense. And that is why I was like, I will go this deep because there is this future timeline and trajectory, and I commit to that. In this location, there is none of that. It's literally like there's literally nothing on the other side. There's no future timelines. There's absolutely nothing. That is when you know, like, you're arriving into the bosom of the mother, you're arriving into the womb. When I was talking about how there's such a reverence and extraction around the feminine essence, this also applies to the original mother. This also applies to this nothingness, this void space, because if we do not trust her in knowing what is the highest, and instead we're motivated to do the work by these ideas and these attachments, we can't get but so close to her. And that means that you can't actually arrive into this location that I'm describing, because she will feel that you are not ready, that you can't actually hold, which is, it's like holding, but not holding at all, the nothingness, that your system still needs the hope of the future, the rebirth, the higher timelines, the reward in order to descend in and down. There's a deeper location. This is going to be very existential. And that's not to say that Dark Nights of Soul can't be quite existential, but this is even deeper. I've taught about the void space and have spoken about the in-between space, the empty space, as the magic maker, because it is. Because from the nothingness comes everything. So it is a potent place for manifestation. It can be. But if you look at our collective and how it is operating through extraction, this is where there becomes deep levels of irreverence to include, oh, I'm going to move into the nothingness. Okay, now that there's nothingness, I know that this is where everything comes from. So now I'm going to put in my ideas on what the future will be. What if she has a plan for you that is truer, purer, more aligned, unimaginable? What if it's not getting everything that you desire, but it's getting everything that your soul needs? For example, we can relate this to materiality and the monetary system. What if you're not meant to be a millionaire and that your soul, in order for it to get what it needs and truly what you truly desire, it would need to have financial challenges along the way. And that's what liberates you. A lot of people don't want to allow themselves to go into these spaces because it challenges their sense of safety and security and control. Okay. The promise of something sells. How much have you bought with the promise of an outcome? How many times did an outcome not arrive or not the intended outcome? Would you choose the work if not for the promised land? What does it mean for those who choose to do, be, lead, transform anyway? Well, for one, fantasy can entrap them. For two, the core of who they are is strengthened. The truth of their nature is the why, not the promise of anything external. Being in a deeper surrender, this existential location I have been immersed within, is teaching me that I am one of those people, the one who chooses anyway. Let's talk about the entrapment piece that I mentioned. So much of the spiritual conscious community is focused on a future trajectory. And I get it because we are the ones that anchor a new paradigm. I'm not saying that that is false. But what happens when we start to take that and then we're living in an extractive society and then we have a marketplace that's built on an extractive society, there's always going to be this like promised land. Oh, Mecca, new earth will arrive. The new paradigm will be here. But I can tell you from living multiple lifetimes and working with people that also have lived multiple lifetimes in which I can remember those lifetimes or I can see other people's lifetimes that there are many lives where the thing doesn't arrive. There are things that take multiple lifetimes, especially when we're looking at humanity, collective consciousness. So it can go slower than you desire, but the journey is a part of the why. It's a necessity, and we can't bypass it and we can't skip over it. So part of what I'm saying is that this is a part of where the bypassing comes from with New Age and spiritual communities. If you don't let yourself go to a place where everything that you desire doesn't arrive, including the deepest things that you think you could not live without, you haven't gone to this location. You haven't gone to the location of deeper surrender. You haven't been there. If the idea of a new earth is a thing that is motivating you forward, which this is totally okay to do. I've done this so much. It's totally okay. But what I'm saying is if you're still allowing that to be the thing that motivates you, you haven't hit the deepest reservoir within your soul that is actually what motivates you. And that's a part of this thing that people believe that if they let that go, they won't get anywhere. There won't be any motivation to move. This is a part of this existential location that I'm talking about too. The level of let go is different. This is why I'm saying that I'm calling it in my teachings deeper surrender. Nearly every person I've mentioned this existential location to of nothing on the other side has brought up how everything will align and arrive to me because I am in the nothingness and let go process. That is not the location I'm pointing to. Go deeper. It is our own safety mechanisms and the beliefs we've been conditioned with to include those related to heaven on earth and manifested realities that are founded on security and control that produce such auto responses. Not a single person has met me in this exact location I am pointing to, yet many have feared and rejected it, deferring to their own safety mechanisms. I know I am immersing in the root of wisdom I know I am allowing myself to be as life leads, surrendering to a degree that few will allow. Therefore, am in a misunderstood and sacred location few will traverse. Because I know its importance without having to name or fully understand it, I have been bringing through transmissions. Uh, I was supposed to read this, but it's okay. To include I've been bringing through, there we go. I've been bringing through transmissions to cast light for those who will brave their way into this space at a later date. Lean in, pay attention. So many, when I have shared this location that I am currently existing in, have responded with things like, oh, well, if you're not going to hold the thing, I'm going to hold it. I sense this thing for you, and I sense that thing for you. And those are all things that are in my blueprint. They're all things that I have, I've seen future timelines about, all kinds of things. But then this is different than it's ever been before. Before I would have been like, oh, thank you so much for like holding that thing for me. Thank you so much for reaffirming this thing that I see. Thank you so much for it's essentially like reverberating my own fantasy, even if it's written in my blueprint and it's true. There's still a kind of fantasy inside of it. And so I would have been excited. It would have been like, oh, okay, they're filling that void for me that keeps me going. And now when someone says that, I'm like, I hear you. Okay. I am very strongly attuned, telepathic, connected. I hear you, but I don't feel that. And part of my not feeling that is because it's not true to this location. If I came out to meet that person, that they're holding this future vision for me, I would come out of the very location that I am meant to be within. I would be betraying the gifts that the mother is holding, whatever. I'm just like, it's not even gifts. It's like hard for me to language this. I would be betraying the closeness and connection that I have with the mother and the sacred terrain of this particular location to meet the other person in their safety mechanisms. Because again, what has happened is that I have found in response to where I am, people will auto response with their own safety mechanisms and conditioning of being like, oh no, don't go down there where there's absolutely nothing. Like, how do you still live and exist if there's absolutely nothing? And like, oh, I'm like people will have responded almost like with fear around where I'm at. Like fear for me, but it's not actually fear for me. It's their own fear. It's their own desire for security. It's their own desire to then control, to try to have security. I'm telling you right now that you don't control how life operates. You can co-create with life, but you don't control it. You never will. This idea that we control life is connected to the idea that we control the feminine essence, that she submits. No, she doesn't. The oceans could wipe us all out in one day if they wanted to. Gaia could be like, get out of here, humans. I'm over you at any moment. The place by which we arrived could say, I call you back in, which is the mother. The way that patriarchy is like the animal world, we control it. The weather, the skies, we control it. Gaia, all of nature, we control it, is false. It is not true. That is a mental idea that cannot and does not supersede original core root truths. So it's imprinted into us, into our bodies. And every time we go through an initiation, every time we go through a descent, There is an unraveling. There's like imprints that are coming out of our body. There are releases that are happening. There are things that we are shedding. The more that we do that, the purer, the truer, the more aligned we become. So again, you can't reach this location overnight. I've been through so many iterations to arrive into this particular space. And so in that shedding, it's like there becomes even a greater safeness that the mother has of closeness with you because she knows the sacredness of her womb. And if you were to bring in your patriarchal conditioning into her womb, it will replicate that patriarchal conditioning. And she's like, that's not allowed here. So the more purified, which requires a level of trust and faith and surrender. And this, by the way, none of those things can you produce with your mind. You're like, I'm in surrender. No, no, you're not. You can say it all day, doesn't make it true. There's actual like processes and initiations and deepening and expansions and choice points and commitments and the way that you show up in your own evolutionary and otherwise devotion. And then all of that begins to bring you into alignment, and that alignment will also allow you to descend further in to this space with the mother, the original mother in the original womb. You don't just get to go in there, especially with extraction. That is literal RAPE relative to the original mother. And you think that you're going to get closeness with her? No. That's why those who are disconnected from soul, they have all of those kind of things built into their system, like extraction. It's like you have extraction, you can't actually get closeness with the mother. They just endlessly are trying to fill voids because they don't have that deeper connection. So like letting go and like letting go over and over and over again and deepening is also to be in closer relationship with the original mother. She is by which everything that you have been given to include your very existence has arrived. Can you exist just to exist? So instead of being like, I want this and I want this and I want this and I want that, and I'm not saying that our needs are not valid and that they're evil. Our desires can lead us in certain ways on our evolutionary journey. But again, there's this deeper location, this sort of, it's like an enlightened detachment that holds far more reverence, where instead it's like, I'm so grateful for you giving me everything that I've ever had, to include my very breath, my blood, my cells, my life, my existence. I'm not here to ask of you anything more. I am so grateful for everything that you are and everything that means that I am. Do you see what I'm saying? In that, we are not actually putting anything into the bucket. We're not putting anything into the space. We are opening wide. And we're opening wide not to get something. We're opening wide just because. If you didn't have the very things that are motivating you in life, for those that I work with who are evolutionaries and visionaries and creatives, one of our deepest fears is that our blueprint doesn't anchor to earth, that our blueprint doesn't fully complete and manifest. And that feels scarier to our systems than actual physical death. If you didn't have that, could you still choose to exist? What if you knew, and I've been using myself as an example because it's a part of my process in being in this location, like I know that my blueprint has partnership written into it. Like there needs to be a man that fills a particular seat in order for my blueprint to become fully complete. I have no control over that. I have, I have, it is not, I can't manifest a man that is going to be aligned and matching for me as I'm leading the leading edge of humanity. I have no control over that external party. I have no control over the masculine collective. I have no control over any of that. And to think that I do is silly. Oftentimes, what we're saying is manifestation is actually our attempt to control life, to manipulate the universe for our sense of security and safety, to appease us. It is a safety mechanism. So because I know like there's an external party that would have to fulfill, it's like an ingredient in the cauldron of my larger blueprint in order for this other kind of activation and trajectory to happen, and I have no control over that. I've been like, oh, okay, I've had to sit in the place where my blueprint does not become manifest, even though I have listened, I have let life lead, I have done and continue to do wild amounts of evolutionary work. I genuinely am on the leading edge of evolution itself. So I could do every single thing right. And that still doesn't mean that that seat is fulfilled. And I had a belief that if I did everything that I was meant to do and I let life lead, that automatically it would magnetize that thing in. That's what I'm pointing to. These what is being sold to us as manifestation. But when you look at the wise woman, when you uh, meet a crone, she will tell you that not everything that you desired in life will become, but there are all these journeys that life takes you on that you didn't suspect or couldn't have anticipated in any way, shape, or form. And the juiciness, like what life has provided inside of all of that. If you did not have your blueprint to motivate you, could you still live? Could you still choose to exist? This is going to be the last part, and it's very important. I just did an immersive that I called Anchoring Your Existence. It's interesting, this dichotomy. It's an integrative dichotomy where moving into this existential space of non-existence, of nothingness, where all of the things that have even like anchored you to earth, they aren't there. You can't touch them, you can't feel them. There's just nothingness. And so this place of like death and non-existence, it calls you deeper and deeper and deeper. And the calling you deeper will support you in anchoring your very existence here. It'll support you. That's what I was saying. It will support you in like anchoring the sacred code of your own soul. It will also anchor in your blueprint. Could you live on earth where your blueprint was anchored? It's right here. It's with you. But it can't fully become on earth. Could you live? because this means that you're not coming from a place of not knowing and ignorance. You actually can feel your blueprint. You can see your blueprint. You can read your blueprint, which I can do. And still, if it had a missing ingredient, could you choose to exist? Could you choose to exist just to exist? Now, there are so many more layers to this, which I went into relative to this topic of anchoring your existence. That's a very particular type of frequency and topic that I brought out in TIE. But I wanted to just briefly mention this to illuminate how surrendering into this place, which feels it's like nothingness. It's literally not even death. It's not even life. There's literally nothing, but it can be akin to describe to being more death-like. In this dichotomy, if you let yourself go there, this will more deeply anchor your very existence here on earth. Now you're not living to get, you're living simply to exist. This is a purer and truer place to be. I'm not saying that manifestation is wrong or bad or anything like that. I am simply saying there is a location, it is deeper, and in that location, you cannot arrive to her trying to get or trying to manifest. And if that is the thing, if these are the things that when you're in a deep, dark night of soul or void space and unravel that you are holding onto, babe, I'm encouraging you to let go. If it is time for you to let go, because again, there are iterations of this. You gotta shed and shed and shed and shed and shed to actually be able to arrive to this particular space that I'm talking about today, the location of deeper surrender. Can you let it all go? Can you let that anchor in your very soul? And again, not doing it for that reason, because there is no reason. It just is. I hope that this transmission has been supportive to you today. I know that this is quite a non-tangible, existential type of teaching transmission. So it's different than others that I have brought through. But I recognize the importance of this location. And so many of you here that resonate with my work, you are evolutionaries. You are the ones that are going to the deeper spaces. And because I lead, I want to speak to the location again to offer you its essence so that at a future time and date, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is what Ashtyn was talking about. Feel free to book a one-on-one with me too at that time. Because I can support you inside of the depth. You know, this is a part of what I'm here for. I am able to see those who see, but are vastly unseen. I am here to meet you and support those that are mystics and pure-hearted warriors and high alchemists, the ones that very infrequently have someone that truly can match them, meet them, and especially support them. If that calls to you, make sure to check out my links in the YouTube bio description or also in my newsletter for the ways in which you can work with me through my one-on-one work. I have a seer single session that's an amazing place to begin. TIE, my membership group. This is a new paradigm community. It is absolutely out of this world. Really quite spectacular, the things that we're doing there. And as always, let me know how this has landed for you, because I love to hear how the work is meeting you. So much love to each and every one of you.